All throughout November, I'm rocking a mustache to help raise awareness and support for Movember. Click the link in the description to find out how you can support cancer research and men's health.
Oh, please. We're not children.
He shouldn't die.
Yes, fuck you.
Can you tell Warren Ellis wrote this? Hello and welcome once again to Oldtaku New Tricks. And before you even start, yes, this isn't strictly anime, but it is anime inspired. It's based off a beloved Japanese property, and some of the staff that worked on the Netflix Castlevania series have worked in the anime industry. Call this the not quite anime month for Oldtaku New Tricks if you must. Besides, I want to talk about Castlevania because, spoilers, I love it. I love the action, I love the story, I love the drama, I love the characters, I even love the somewhat out of place bits of Warren Ellis' toilet humor.
I do have questions about Trevor's ancestors. I discovered an entire box of spells about penises.
You're certain it was one of his ancestors? You didn't find it under his childhood bed?
So, yeah, this is going to be pretty much a love fest that'll be diving into spoilers, so if you haven't seen Castlevania, stop the video right now and go watch the series on Netflix. I originally caught the first season of Castlevania a few months after it premiered in 2017, and while I liked it, there was only 4 episodes in total, and thus not a lot to really grab onto. That, and I came to look at Warren Ellis' approach to Trevor Belmont as, well, kind of a stock character in his repertoire. If you've ever read a Warren Ellis book, especially titles like Planetary, then you know he loves his curmudgeons, his misanthropes, and his sassy women, and boy oh boy do all 3 appear in Castlevania.
All I can do is try and make sure it doesn't get you killed, so you can see your family again.
That's your encouraging talk?
Or you get killed and they get eaten in the forest, so none of you have to be sad.
But still, I overall liked the first season, and I checked out the second season as soon as I could, and even though my expectations were set higher than before, it blew me away. I binged all 8 episodes in a row, and it left me in a satisfied Castlevania fanboy heap. For starters, it's longer, so that's immediately a plus, and not just because there's more show to watch. While the first season was fun, the characters, read Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard, weren't given that much room or time to develop and bounce off each other. In the second season, however, a good chunk of the last half of the season is the 3 of them interacting with each other in a library. And it may sound boring, but the banter back and forth is classic Ellis, and is used to develop the relationships between the 3 characters, which was sorely missed in the first season. Not only that, but there are new characters ripped straight from the games, specifically Curse of Darkness, and they all benefit from the extended run. I never in a million years would have guessed that Isaac and Hector from a mostly overlooked PS2 game would be standouts in the show. But lo and behold, Ellis turned what were previously a kind of one-note bad guy and rather bland protagonist into compelling characters in their own right.
But we are on the same side.
Is this where we kiss like Benedictine monks from different monasteries?
I don't think I've ever heard you try to tell a joke before.
You still haven't.
And speaking of compelling characters, this might very well be my most favorite interpretation of Dracula I've ever seen.
You must be the Belmont. The end of your line.
Dracula has long since been a character in the popular literary canon for over a century now, and we've seen a ton of iterations of the fallen one, some menacing, some tragic, but I feel Castlevania's take is the best one simply because it manages to blend both perfectly right. In the first season, Dracula had to take a backseat to a cookie-cutter, one-note, overly zealous religious villain archetype that was simply called the Bishop.
Paganism.
No! It's just science. It has nothing to do with any god or...
Nothing to do with God.
No, that's not what I meant.
But with him out of the way, well, until he was basically used as a Zippo lighter for half a heartbeat in the second season, the show can finally delve into Dracula, and it truly surprised me by the way they went about his path of destruction. Because even though he is taking out his revenge on humanity, he's taking no visible pleasure in it. He wants humanity to suffer, but his wrath and path of violence is aimless. His generals and army of the undead are just wantonly killing, and it's leaving them all questioning what Dracula's intentions are. And then it hits you. He's just waiting to die.
just to keep the peace between squabbling creatures who will starve and die before the end of the year anyway. Ah, well. So long as it brings silence.
When his wife Lisa was burnt at the stake, he died with her, and now he's taking his revenge on humanity because he just doesn't know what else to do. It's basically a funeral march. But when Trevor and Sypha and Alucard finally confront Dracula, it leads to probably my favorite climactic battle I've seen in years. Ellis always had a great gift for fight scenes, especially where magic is involved, and he does not disappoint here. Sypha's ice and fire spells are just gnarly, and Trevor's Morningstar Whip comes with it the ability to explode vampires! I could just watch the 7th episode 20 times in a row, and still laugh and clap like a toddler watching The Wiggles. Sometimes, all you really need for a show to do is be stupidly awesome. And that is a textbook example right there. I just can't help but smile while thinking about my time watching the 2nd season of Castlevania. It hits all the notes I wanted it to, and more. And speaking as a Castlevania fan, I appreciated all the nods towards the lore, and even the cameos of Gaiden and Slagra. God, Adi Shankar must have had a blast playing these games too. Just go and see this show, please. Honestly, I could go on and on about individual little scenes that I just loved in Castlevania, but I want to leave something for all of you to talk about in the comments. Here's to hoping the 3rd season can match what the 2nd season accomplished, because I'm pretty damn sure, considering the ending, we're gonna get a 3rd season. So, what about all of you? What did you think of Castlevania?